Hey everybody, what's going on? Hellmite here, bringing you another video from Grab the Lantern today. Today I want to talk a little bit about the narrative post that Riot released while I was gone, and give my thoughts on the whole subject. Now, narrative has been a bit of a tricky subject over the last few years because people have been alternatively very disappointed in Riot or very happy with how Riot have taken the new lore. Now, a big part of this is that now that we're getting consistent lore updates, they're coming very fast and hard, and a lot of them are very substantial retcons to characters or places or other things that involve the world of League of Legends. And when that's the case, you have a lot of change very quickly. A lot of people get upset, some people are happy, some people are not, some people get very mad, as in the case of the Varus retcons. And so I think that it's interesting to kind of take a look at all of that. But so anyways, Riot have finally sat down and given us a look at where we're going in the future and how the lore is going to proceed. Now, first I wanted to say that this is pretty much all good news. If you didn't see the post, I will have it linked in the description below. But the post is pretty much all good news. Now, the first thing that Riot have done is they've clarified the fact that they are not necessarily one team that creates a holistic idea about what Runeterra and what the world of League of Legends looks like. They're kind of all over the place creating lore and creating things for other products that are coming out. So when Riot release a new champion, they kind of have people figure out where they go. But the problem is because you have so many individual teams working on things, it makes things very difficult. So Riot announced that they have two people whose goal it is now is to make sure that everything syncs together and lines up with everything else. So no more will we have a random champion released that completely conflicts with anything else that we already know. This should help us get a more holistic picture of Runeterra and League of Legends and kind of get an idea of where everything falls in line. So we shouldn't have a champion who kind of comes out and just doesn't fit in with anything else we know. So that's already really good. Now, the biggest thing to me is that Riot have said they're going to be trying to be better at communicating with players, which I think is a little difficult to do because obviously they're not going to do any surprise Varus lore updates like we had in the last year, but it can be difficult because you have to work on things so far in advance that can be difficult to actually get player opinions on it beforehand. So, for example, let's say Nocturne is up for a retcon or a rework. So while Nocturne's getting reworked, Riot gets to get together and talk about who he is, where he's going forward, and they want to get player feedback. The problem is you can't just make a random thread that says, hey, by the way, Nocturne mains, we're curious, what do you think about this guy's lore? Because that kind of gives it away, and it kind of ruins the surprise that Riot are working on this. Now, Riot have been a lot more transparent with their rework schedule and their rework cadence, so it could be that they consider that is no longer a problem. They pretty much announce everyone in advance who they're working on, so maybe that's totally a good thing they could do. Aatrox, for example, is currently on the rework train. Maybe Riot just say, hey guys, what do you like about Aatrox's lore? What do you dislike? Xin Zhao as well, when he got reworked, what do you guys like about Xin Zhao? What do you dislike? And maybe that's just a part of the rework and the gameplay updates that Riot put out alongside. Maybe that's a thing they could do, I don't know, but it sounds like a decent idea, and Riot have at least said they want to be better at communicating with us and having us talk to the writers and editors. So I think that's going to be overall a big step forward for Riot, and a big step forward for lore buffs who in the past haven't felt as though their opinions on characters and on the story have mattered, right? Just kind of made their own decisions. So I think this is a big step going forward. Now, Riot have also said that they're going to be releasing more regular content in more manageable chunks. So we will almost never again get another Burning Tides event. And that's kind of disappointing because that event was just a hugely successful thing. It's still talked about today. It was probably the most successful event Riot have put on yet. So that being said, though, it took so many resources that we basically got nothing else for lore over the rest of the year. So I think that a more regular release content is overall good for the game, but it is kind of disappointing to hear that we're not going to get any huge events like that again, as it was a lot of fun. Finally, and this is a little bit more concerning for me, they say they want to answer some long-standing questions. Now, these, and specifically these are referring to lore questions, so especially back in the day, we had a lot of questions about, especially Shadow Isles characters. We didn't know who Mordekaiser was, we didn't know who Evelynn was, we didn't know what happened to the Shadow Isles, or who the Ruined King was. There were a lot of things we didn't really know about those champions, and part of the mystery is what made it cool, not knowing what exactly drove Callista to become the Spear of Vengeance, who betrayed her, not knowing what Mordekaiser was or what his intentions might be. There's a certain allure of mystery that makes a character a little bit more interesting. Now, obviously, you can't make the entire character's backstory a mystery, as was the case with Evelyn, who we literally just knew nothing about that character. But I like the fact that there is still some mysteriousness in League of Legends lore and in Runeterra, because it makes the world feel bigger. If you know everything there is to know about the world and everything there is to know about the character and their history, it makes it so that there aren't any surprise reveals later, and that's kind of a disappointment. That you can't find out one day, hey, Nautilus was actually corrupted by the Void, and that's why he's a big walking, talking suit of diving armor. You know, that sort of a thing is kind of cool to come across in the event of actual lore and storytelling, as opposed to just being told up front, yeah, this is what happened to Nautilus. So I'm not sure how Riot are going to handle that. I'm hoping that it means that they're handling other questions like exactly what happened in the Ionia campaign, what is happening with Kassadin's daughter. Those sorts of things is what I'm hoping they address, and I hope they do it in a way that's more organic and more storytelling based, as opposed to just telling us what happened. Moving on, Riot also mentioned a little bit about what they were going to talk about for the rest of 2018, and this is primarily where I want to spend a lot of time, because there's a lot of really interesting stuff to unpack in their discussion of the next 2018. So we already had the Noxus updates, which had a few new stories, a few new bios for some of the champions, and the Swain update, obviously. Now, Riot tend to package together lore updates with champion updates. And so for all of you guys who don't care about lore, this is where you should be paying attention, because this potentially tells us what their rework or champion release schedule will look like for the rest of the year. So Riot have said what they're looking at hitting in the coming months: the Void and some of its abyssal mysteries. Now, we already are almost guaranteed to know that our next champion is the Marksman is a Void related champion. So we're pretty sure we're going to get some Void updates here as well, probably for the Voidborn champions. I'm really hesitant on this because I do really like how mysterious a lot of the Voidborn are, and I like the fact that the Void is just this unknowable eldritch dimension that doesn't make any sense with our laws of physics. And so I really hope Riot have taken their time and done their homework and made sure to convey the Void and its denizens in a way that's as close to the original intention as possible. I know there was some talk a while back about, yeah, no, the Void has physical terrain and that's why Rek'Sai burrows, but I'm hoping they pivoted away from that direction into something that's a little more alien and a little more abstract. Next, they talk about Ionia, talking about the sort of Ionian campaign against Noxus. Is that still going on? And that's going to be packaged alongside the Aurelia update. I would also expect updates probably for champions like Karma, possibly Soraka, possibly Master Yi, and the rest of the Kinku ninjas. And I would love to see some more stories set in Ionia, as I think that's sort of the place where the biggest event of all of League of Legends, the Noxian and Ionian conflict, has happened. So I'm really hoping that we get more information on exactly what happened in that campaign when that came out. There also potentially could be a champion release, but I find that hard to believe given that Aurelia is being reworked, which will probably come with the Ionia lore update as well, and then Akali's right after her to sort of bookend the Ionia update. So I don't think we'll get a new champion in there. Now, they've also talked about the Darken, which we know Aatrox is already getting reworked this year, so the Darken update will probably come packaged alongside Aatrox. But here's where things get interesting, is Bilgewater is on the list. Now, no Bilgewater champion is currently on the VGU list, and no Bilgewater champion is up for a regular gameplay update. So, to me, this means one of two things. Either Riot have decided to do even more Bilgewater stories, which would be great. I think it would be interesting to have even more follow-up to the sort of Burning Tide storyline that kicked off with MF killing Gangplank, or almost killing Gangplank, I should say. But what it could also mean is that we're getting a new Bilgewater-themed champion. Now, that would be really interesting, and that's sort of my prediction going forward if I had to make a guess. Our champion after the Void champion, we will be getting a champion from Bilgewater. So go wild with speculation down in the comments. Let me know what you guys are thinking. What kind of pirate are we going to be seeing out of Bilgewater? Or will it be a pirate? May it be somebody else? Potentially another Serpent Islander like Alawi, or maybe just another denizen of the deep who's taken up residence in Bilgewater. It'll be interesting to see. We also got good news. There are more comics in the works, so they're hoping to do some multi-issue miniseries, which I think are going to be very interesting and big plot arcs for some very well-known champions in 2018. So to me, if they're trying to do very well-known champions, this is talking about like the top champions that everybody knows. So people like Ashe, Lee Sin, Garen. And to me personally, I feel like this might be a follow-up for MF. If we don't get MF stories in the Bilgewater lore that may be coming this year, then we may get a mini-series focusing on Misfortune and her sort of descent into control of Bilgewater. We also may be finally taking a look at Yasuo and Riven. That's a big plot line that has just kind of been dropped in our laps and left alone ever since Yasuo's release and has never been looked at. But he is definitely a very well-known champion. Everyone loves Yasuo, or hates Yasuo alternatively, but he's popular, so it could be that we see more about that. Lucian is another champion that's very well known and that has a relatively interesting story arc ahead of him dealing with Thresh, so we could see the comics in the future deal with Yasuo and Lucian, or potentially one or two of the other popular champions such as Ashe focusing on the war in the Freljord, maybe Garen dealing with Demacia, or potentially his own sister in Lux, as she's a mage and she's really not supposed to be if she's in Demacia. But anyways, that's all speculation from me. Let me just what you guys are thinking down in the comment section below about what these new comics might be about. I'm really excited to see that we're going to be getting some more, so we can look forward to those in the coming year. Now, if you enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave a like, and if you really enjoyed the video, consider subscribing. I upload a video every Monday, Friday, and on patch days as well. And if you're looking for more Grab the Lantern content, you can check out my blog, linked down in the description. I upload an article every single day for your enjoyment. Once again, thank you guys so very much for watching. I do appreciate it, and I will talk to you all later.